I am bold to say that if the government doesn't come up with this quickly and build a bridge across all political camps quickly, in fact, the elections they're looking forward to may not hold.
Are you recommending what you're saying as the first step in stamping out this fear that you've...
Well, like I said, we need to talk. Track 3. United Nations has something they call Track 3 diplomacy that was created to match these kind of things. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. What Track 3 diplomacy does, if we're adopting the UN platform, is that it brings not only diplomats, it also takes people in governance, it brings professionals together with the religious community. Remember that this thing is cloaked under religion. So the first thing to do to solve it is that you must separate the religious cloak from what it really is.
Absolutely.
And to do that, you cannot use like Captain did mention earlier on, you can use the traditional approach that we are trying to use to handle this thing. All that's going to happen is that it's going to keep extending and the reach is going to keep, increasing until finally we get to the point where it might be too late for us to handle it.
Okay. Captain Umar, now if we're to look at what we have done right and what we have done wrong, which one would you want to start with? For me, as my background, project management, you always look at what did I get right, what did I get wrong, so that I can learn from both to improve on what's being done wrong and to correct what's being done wrong and to improve on what is being done right. What should we be looking at now?
Yes, indeed. To answer your question, I'll say, given the rather antagonistic nature of our security agencies, let's not say what did we do right or what did we get wrong. Let's say what didn't we do right. What didn't we do right? I spoke once on a forum. Is first and foremost, can we begin to see one simple thing here, that terrorism has no religion. It rather tries to use religion to do some image laundering. When you hear money laundering, think image laundering now. After religion, in fact, football is even more subscribed than religion. They are actually seeking to get the empathy of adherents to that religion who may be misinformed or uninformed. And you see, religion has a very large followership, whichever way you look at it. The only institution that outstrides that is probably football. Now, how do we begin to get it right? Beginning to get it right, as our gentleman here has said, is to first and foremost isolate this image that it is religious. It is not. Secondly, if we want to begin to get it right, I dare say, here and now, that our security agencies have to do it outside of the box. You don't handle terrorism with inside of the box thinking. These guys are loonies. And if you don't think like a loony, you will not see with the eyes of a loony.
But do we have that capacity within our security team at the moment?
Oh, yes, we do.
To think outside the box in the way that we will be able to deal with this to the root of it.
We do. What really, from my position, what really the problem is an ego thing.
What do you mean by ego thing?
Our security agencies need to open the doors to their minds. That you are there and you are federal government endorsed to do a job doesn't mean you actually are a repository of knowledge. Okay? You need to open your doors, the doors to your minds. You need to be able to listen to people. Look, the solution to this is going to be a cocktail of solutions.
Right.
Okay?
Let me quickly ask you that you've both
Yes.
recommended ways of resolving this. Now, I want us to apply some of these solutions you preferred to the ongoing abduction.
Good.
How do we move on from here?
Okay. I won't go into details because everybody listens, terrorists inclusive.
Exactly.
But let me just give you a superficial solution here. Sambisa Forest. I have actually taken time on my own to get as close as I can to that place.
Right.
And something struck me. It's like an oasis. we're looking at it, basically arid Maiduguri, then a forest begins to sit in a place where you don't really have as much water as you do in Benin or Lagos. What does it tell you? There is a water line somewhere.
Somewhere, that's right.
Now, having served, being an ex-soldier, I tell you something about we human beings. We're creatures of habit. Wherever you see a settlement, a town, a people, there has to be a source of water supply. Okay? Now, water supply here actually is something that we all need to survive. The insurgents could go into villages and loot and kill to get food and other things. They could need 200 girls to meet their domestic needs in the camp, cooking and other things.
That's right.
But they cannot steal water. So if you find that water line that sustains that forest, that water line will take you to the camp.
Let me also ask you, because I mean, from general knowledge of abduction and hostage taking, there's always an ideology. There's always a reason. All right? Is it that the school is peculiar, or this abduction is a means to a certain end, so that we know how then to prepare for the next move?
There are three possibilities. One, publicity. Two, as I told you, they would probably need women to handle certain needs, which they can do. And three, they could also be used as human shields. Human shields in the sense that because they are in the camp, we should not look to be attacked. For me, it adds up. If I were leading a terrorist cell, I'll hold Sambisa with everything. And the reason is simple: water. We're talking of a desert. You can't shift camps anyhow in a desert. So I'm going to hold Sambisa with everything. And if I can get some 200 girls as shields, why not?
Amazing.
Okay.
Okay.
Go on.
I was going to ask you, you made mention of something in the UN Charter. All right.
The track 3.
Track 3, which means you're subscribed to having the international community supporting this fight. Now, and it's, okay, and it's, let's look at it holistically. What part would you, how would you want them to get involved? Because a lot of people have recommended a few ways. What part would you recommend?
Well, first of all, again, a wise man was once asked the question that if you have a difficult problem to solve, how would you go about solving it? And what he said was that he would apportion at least 55 minutes to defining the problem. And he would spend 5 minutes solving it. You see, I think even as we sit here, there's a gross underestimation of what we're up against. You see, what happened to the girls is just what they call soft targets. About 18 months ago, we tried to issue a warning that there was going to be an increase on attacks against soft targets. We're dealing with practically the best minds. It's a global concern.
That's right.
The terror issue is a global concern. It's not a local issue. Nigerians are finding it very hard to wrap our minds around that. You're dealing with people who anticipate. And apart from that, you may be very nice because you belong to that community, but I have seen too much bloodshed in Nigeria in the past 14 years when we began to watch this thing grow. For us not to know that we need to be fearless and we need to begin to stand out and absorb the truth. One of the greatest challenges is that this whole thing is based on a model that was perfected between 1992 and 1996 in Sudan. And the person who perfected the model may be dead, but his legacy lives on. Now, there's a very intelligent aspect to this model. And ever before they get to this point where you are, ordinarily they will have infiltrated a society considerably. So we may be dealing with a compromised security service in Nigeria, which is one of the major reasons why hardly anything the army can do, apart from the fact that the army are not trained. Like he said, you didn't use a machete where you need to use a scalpel. Now, the truth be told is that we need to think out of the box, as he has said, gain an understanding that we may not have much traction because there's a 98% possibility, if we learn how to concatenate, that security services in Nigeria have been compromised. And if we